Hey guys, so nowadays I live a very peaceful existence. I am very healthy mentally, emotionally, energetically, and physically. I attract good things. I don't really worry about anything. I put a lot of time into my spiritual practices, maybe like 2 hours a day, just to maintain, but sometimes I do more, and sometimes I do less. I also am diving deeper into other spiritual practices, spiritual methods and ways of being, like shamanism and Taoism and Buddhism and yoga. Even though 7 years ago I was a suicidal drug addict who almost lost everything. So I'm making this video just to give you a brief outline of some of the challenges and some of the trauma that I've had to deal with on my journey, and share my story. So my name is Hollow. I'm 33 years old, and this is my story. So life growing up from a very young age was volatile. It had a very tense and volatile atmosphere. Both of my parents were struggling with their own mental and emotional issues, especially my mother, who was also struggling with alcoholism. So from the ages of 0 till, my entire childhood really, but from a very young age, I experienced a lot of a household filled with lots of fights, and threats of abandonment. So I grew up with my nervous system hardwired with a high sense of alert and hypervigilance, which I don't think I've worked through just yet. I still feel that that's something I still have to work through. When I was 7 years old, I suffered with meningitis C, bacterial, and blood poisoning together. If you don't know what that is, that's an infection of the brain membrane and the spinal cord, with also the body being attacked, the whole body being attacked with blood poisoning. It's quite serious. Some people die, and the people that don't die can be left with some very serious issues. And that's when my mental and emotional issues started. That's when my depression started. And these issues can be short term, and they can come back throughout your entire life and be like a permanent thing. And during that time, I remember hallucinating, seeing these colors and just being completely filled with terror. And what's interesting is that those hallucinations came back actually throughout my teenage years, and even once in my adult years. Just once though, I think maybe it came back a few times, maybe over the last 10 years, but not so much. I probably haven't seen it for like 5 years or something. But I don't really know how I dealt with that depression when I was 7. I think I used video games as escapism, and I poured a lot of my time and energy into video games. And that was how I dealt with it, with these issues at that time. I had my first drink probably around 10, my first cigarette around 12. But I didn't really start drinking and smoking regularly till 14. And of course, I took things a bit too far. When I did, I'd always get completely out of it if I did. One time I got so drunk, I was so ill. I had to take I developed gastroenteritis and I couldn't even go to school for 2 weeks. But I dabbled with some drugs at 16. And then at 18 is when my drug addiction really kicked in, and I became a heavy user of various drugs every day. And in order to support that addiction, I had to start distributing as well. And this is when my mental and emotional state completely went downhill. My depression got worse. My anxiety went through the roof, as you can imagine. I started developing paranoia, and then I started developing psychosis, drug-induced psychosis, and that happened many times over many years to follow. Overall, I actually battled that drug addiction for 8 years. And then when I was 20 at university, I got falsely accused of rape. So that completely shattered my university experience. And I wasn't really even able to be there, to be honest. I had to quit. I couldn't be there. So I never got a degree. And then I really struggled. That sort of followed me about. I really struggled getting any kind of good job. I was doing maths as well, so it would have been a pretty good degree. I could have got any job with that. But yeah, all the jobs I did get, they want to know why I left. And some of the people I told them the reasons, they wouldn't hire me because of it. And yeah, so that followed me around for a bit, but after university, my drug addiction got worse, and I got heavily into cocaine, which I did for a number of years. It got to the point where I was doing it every day, and it got to the point when I was 25 years old. I was living at home in my parents' house, and I was smoking heroin in their lounge, in their converted loft. It was a lounge. They had 2 lounges. And I was there just on the sofa for 3 weeks, just smoking heroin. And that's when I just hit rock bottom in terms of depression, in terms of my mental state. I have to leave. I have to get out of here. So I picked a city. I went over to Bristol. Had no money, no job. But I managed to stay in one of my friend's uni apartment for a few weeks. I managed to get a job. I managed to get an apartment. Luckily, during this time, I did have support from my parents. If I needed money, I think they were still working at that time. So if I needed money, they would support me. So luckily, I still had that, because if I didn't have them, then I probably would have been homeless pretty early on, pretty quickly. But when I moved out to Bristol, things actually got worse. I was buying drugs on the dark web. I was distributing to feed my habit. And because I was just in a room by myself, just doing drugs, my paranoia and psychosis was at its peak. And I was hallucinating a lot of shit, seeing a lot of shit. And I really turned into kind of a bit of a hermit, to be honest. I couldn't really be out in public because of my anxiety and paranoia. So I ended up just being by myself. And during this over think it was probably like over the 4 or 5 years that after university I couldn't hold down a job. I got fired from every job that I was at because of my mental state, my emotional state, my drug addiction. I ended up destroying loads of relationships with friends, ruining my relationship with my family, destroying my health, ruining my finances, becoming incredibly depressed, getting in trouble with the police, doing crazy, reckless behavior, putting my life at risk on many, many occasions, self-harming. I was plagued with nightmares every night for years of being chased, being brutally murdered, having dreams of demonic nature. I was even murdering people as well in those dreams sometimes. Like I'd seen it all in the dream world, that is. And I was just incredibly depressed, incredibly lonely, and just had such a deep sense of worthlessness. This is why I self-harmed, and I was actually suicidal for a couple years as well during that time. I had no peace during the day. I had no peace during the night for years. And and the last 4.5, 5 years, I've rewired my nervous system. I've fixed my mental, emotional issues, my physical issues, my energetic issues. I'm very healthy. I'm very stable. My finances are getting better. My relationships are getting better. I've inserted a lot of love into the relationships with my family. I'm building friendships. I fixed my drug addiction. I don't drink. I don't do any drugs. I don't smoke tobacco. I don't drink caffeine. I don't eat meat. I live a very healthy and balanced lifestyle. I'm not perfect though. I still face some challenges. I still go through seasons. Sometimes I shop too much. I spend too much money. Sometimes I don't do a lot of practice every day. But over the last 5 years, when I found spirituality, that was the first thing that ever truly made me happy. Ever. That was the first time I felt happiness in my life. Was when I found spirituality and when I found spiritual growth. And over the last 5 years, I've experienced such an amazing, wonderful experiences within myself. Just talking about it now brings tears to my eyes of how incredible it is. Incredible feelings of love and compassion and peace within. And I just also wanted to say that I've actually gotten younger over the last 8 years. I looked older 8 years ago than I do now. This is the kind of healing that's possible. This is the kind of rejuvenation that's possible. You know that if I can do this, so can you. I'm nothing special. You are the same as me. I'm the same as you. We're both exactly the same. We're both just spirits on the same journey, coming from the same place, going to the same destination, at just different points. And if I can do it, so can you. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful to myself for making it through it and just building like such an amazing life, even though it might not look so glamorous to you, but actually an amazing life starts from within. I'm so grateful to my teachers, all the teachers and spiritual masters that I work with and that I've worked with and that I'm going to work with, and all the people that have helped in my journey, and all the people that have supported me on my journey as well. So I just wanted to make this video just to let anyone know that if you're struggling with issues, with trauma, with challenges, if you spend your life in shadow, in the darkness, then just know that anything is possible. Everything is possible. You can build any life you want. Right now, I'm in the middle of a threshold between two lives, between an old life that doesn't fit anymore, and between a new life that isn't stable enough to support me. And this is actually really challenging, really tough, because the old life is very draining. So I have a low-paying job. I've always had low-paying jobs because I don't have the qualifications or the skill set, or I don't have the experience for anything good. That's very draining. And because it doesn't align anymore. And it also just amplifies any of the other issues that I'm facing. So life is a little bit overwhelming and a little tough at the moment. But that's okay. All that means is that I'm actually much closer than I think I am to my new life, and being able to maintain a strong internal state while everything shifts around me is also another skill that I've developed over the last 4.5-5 years. I may have already said this in this video already, but I attract good things all the time. Before, I used to attract just such shit situations and just such bad things all the time. It was just constant pain, constant suffering. And my parents are actually kind of still like that, to be honest. They attract a lot of bad stuff. You know, they still haven't worked through their issues. They never will in this lifetime. I essentially have to be my own mother, my own father now. Because no matter what I achieve in this life, they haven't even seen what I've done with my life. Now, there's like no difference between how I am now and how I was before, really. Because I'm just a mirror. All they see is themselves. So I got a squeaky chair. Don't mind that. So you can create any life you want. And I invite you. I'm actually going to explore. I'm actually going to go dive deeper into each part of my journey. Each part, just to share how I dealt with it, how I cured it, how I fixed it, how I worked through it, and also just share the deeper spiritual stuff that I'm doing nowadays as well, how I'm exploring, how I'm growing, how I'm learning. And because that's ultimately where my passions lie. It's within spiritual growth, it's within transformation, it's within healing. Thank you.